Minyu had seen many things in his 3 years working on the Harmony's Hope, but he had never seen an explosion quite like this one. The flagship had been beautiful just moments ago, with its silver walls and glowing blue lights. Now it was a scene of chaos and destruction. Smoke filled the corridors. Alarms screamed from every direction. People were running, shouting, crying. Minyu gripped his medical kit and followed his team through the damaged hallway. His boots crunched on broken glass and twisted metal. "Stay close," Captain shouted over the noise. "Medical teams split up and find casualties." Minyu nodded and broke away from the main group. His training kicked in automatically. Check for breathing. Stop the bleeding. Stabilize and move. He had done this dozens of times in simulations, but simulations never smelled like burning circuits and fear. He found his first patient quickly, an engineer with a broken leg. Minyu worked fast, setting the bone and wrapping it tight. The engineer's skin had strange glowing marks that pulsed weakly, were different from humans in many ways, but pain looked the same on every face. "You'll be okay," Minyu said, helping the engineer sit up. "Stay here, someone will come for you." The engineer grabbed his arm. "The princess," he gasped. "She was near the reactor core when it exploded." Minyu's blood went cold. The princess. He had seen her earlier during the diplomatic ceremony, a tall woman with blue crystalline skin and bright, intelligent eyes. She had smiled at the human delegation. Now she might be dead. "Which way?" Minyu asked. The engineer pointed down a collapsed hallway. "But it's too dangerous." Minyu was already running. He knew it was stupid. He knew he should wait for backup, but something inside him wouldn't let him stop. Maybe it was because of his sister. She had died 5 years ago from a blood disease. He had been helpless then, unable to save her. He wouldn't be helpless now. The hallway was worse than he expected. Support beams had fallen. Fires burned in some rooms. He climbed over debris, ignoring the cuts on his hands. His medical scanner beeped, detecting life signs ahead. He found her in what used to be a command room. Princess lay on the floor, pinned by a large piece of metal. Her blue blood was pooling around her, glowing faintly in the darkness. 3 doctors surrounded her, working frantically. "Human," one of them shouted when he saw Minyu. "Get back, this is a royal emergency." "I'm a medic," Minyu said, kneeling beside them. "Let me help." The lead doctor, an older named, shook his head. His face was twisted with stress. "You don't understand. Her blood type is rare, very rare. We need to transfuse her immediately, but our entire blood supply was destroyed in the explosion. Every compatible donor on this ship is either dead or injured." Minyu looked at the princess. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes were closed. The glowing marks on her skin were fading. She was dying. "What about other blood types?" Minyu asked. "Can't you use something close?" "It would kill her faster," said bitterly. "Biology is complex. Wrong blood creates crystallization in the veins. It's a death sentence." Minyu stared at the princess. An idea formed in his mind. It was crazy, it was dangerous, but it was the only chance. "What about human blood?" he asked. The doctors all turned to look at him, frowned. "What?" "Human blood," Minyu repeated. He was already rolling up his sleeve. "I've read the research. Human blood has worked with some alien species. Not often, but sometimes. It's adaptive." "That's insane," another doctor said. "We don't know if it's compatible." "Do you have any other options?" Minyu challenged. Silence. The only sound was the princess's labored breathing. Looked at Minyu for a long moment. Then he looked at the princess. His hands were shaking. "If we do this, you could die, the shock to your system." "I know the risks," Minyu interrupted. "Let's do it." Everything happened very fast after that. The doctors hooked him up to their medical equipment. It looked different from human technology, but the principle was the same. His blood flowed through a tube, then into the princess's arm. Minyu watched his red blood mix with her blue blood in the transfusion line. The colors swirled together, creating strange patterns. He felt dizzy but forced himself to stay conscious. "Something's happening," one of the doctors whispered. The princess's wounds were beginning to glow. Not the faint blue glow of blood, but a new color, purple. The light spread through her veins like fire, visible beneath her translucent skin. "Is that normal?" Minyu asked weakly. "No," breathed. "Nothing about this is normal." The purple glow grew brighter. The princess's breathing steadied. Her wounds started closing at a speed that made the doctors gasp. Within minutes, injuries that should have taken weeks to heal were sealing themselves. Minyu felt himself getting weaker. He had given a lot of blood. Too much, maybe. The room started spinning. "That's enough," said, disconnecting the transfusion. "Any more and you'll die." Minyu slumped against the wall, breathing hard. His vision was blurry, but he could still see the princess. She looked different now. Her skin had changed slightly, with small traces of red mixed into the blue patterns. Her chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm. "Did it work?" Minyu whispered. As if in answer, the princess's eyes opened. They were bright and aware. She turned her head and looked directly at Minyu. Her lips moved, forming words. "What are you?" she asked softly. "What did you do to me?" Then Minyu passed out. When he woke up, he was in a medical bay. Doctor, the chief human, was checking his vital signs. She smiled when she saw him open his eyes. "Welcome back," she said. "You've been unconscious for 6 hours." "The princess," Minyu croaked. "Alive, more than alive, actually." His expression was strange, excited but also worried. "Minyu, what you did, it shouldn't have worked, but it did, and the results are unlike anything we've ever seen." Before Minyu could ask what she meant, the door opened. Captain entered, followed by several guards in ceremonial armor. Behind them came a tall, imposing figure wearing royal robes. "Emperor Kairos," whispered, immediately bowing. The emperor ignored her. He walked straight to Minyu's bed and stared down at him. His face was unreadable. "You saved my daughter's life," he said finally. "For that, you have my eternal gratitude." He paused. "But you also changed her in ways we don't yet understand, and that makes you either the greatest hero in my empire's history, or its greatest threat." The emperor's eyes glowed with an intense blue light. "Time will tell which." Minyu spent 2 more days recovering in the medical bay. Every hour, someone came to take his blood samples, scan his body, or ask him questions. They wanted to understand what happened. So did the humans. So did Minyu. Doctor visited him often. She brought data pads showing graphs and charts that Minyu barely understood. But the basic message was clear. Something impossible had happened. "Your blood adapted to her biology," explained, sitting beside his bed. "It didn't just keep her alive. It merged with her cells and created something new, something stronger." "Is she okay?" Minyu asked. It was the question he asked every time someone entered his room. Hesitated. "She's different. Physically, she's better than okay. Her healing speed is incredible. Her strength has increased, but there's something else." "What?" "She says she can feel you, your emotions, your presence. She knew the exact moment you woke up, even though she was 3 decks away." Minyu sat up, ignoring the dizziness. "That's impossible." "We're calling it a psychic bond," said quietly. "The transfusion created a connection between you. We don't know how or why. It's never been documented before." Before Minyu could respond, the door opened. Princess stepped inside. She looked different from the dying woman Minyu had saved. She still had the same tall, elegant form and the crystalline blue skin, but now there were patterns of red light mixed in with the blue, swirling through her arms like tiny rivers. Her eyes seemed brighter, more intense. "Leave us," she said too. The doctor bowed and hurried out. The guards started to follow inside, but she waved them away too. "I said leave us, all of you." When the door closed, silence filled the room. stood there, studying Minyu with an expression he couldn't read. "How are you feeling?" she asked finally. "Tired, confused, you." "The same." She moved closer and sat in the chair had vacated. "I wanted to thank you. You saved my life." "Anyone would have done the same." "No," said firmly. "They wouldn't have. You risked your life for someone you didn't know, someone from a different species. That's rare, especially in this galaxy." Minyu shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "My sister died because I couldn't help her. I guess I didn't want to feel that helpless again." His expression softened, then she frowned, touching her chest. "I felt that," she whispered. "Your sadness, your loss, it's like an echo in my mind." "Doctor said you can feel my emotions." "Yes, can you feel mine?" Minyu concentrated. At first there was nothing. Then slowly he became aware of something, a presence that wasn't his own, curiosity, gratitude, and underneath it all fear. "You're scared," he said, surprised. Nodded, terrified. "My father sees me as a symbol now. Some people think I'm blessed, others think I'm corrupted. And this connection between us," she met his eyes, "it's intimate in a way I never agreed to. I don't know if I should embrace it or fight it." Minyu understood. He felt the same confusion. "We'll figure it out together." "Together," repeated. A small smile touched her lips. "I suppose we don't have much choice, do we?" Over the next week, Minyu was cleared to leave the medical bay. Captain assigned him quarters on the flagship, explaining that both governments wanted him close for observation. Minyu suspected it was also for protection. News of what happened had spread across the galaxy, and not everyone was happy about it. He saw often. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat in silence, getting used to the strange bond between them. Minyu learned that she loved music, hated formal ceremonies, and had a sharp sense of humor hidden beneath her royal composure. Learned that Minyu was stubborn, loyal, and carried more guilt about his sister than he admitted. The connection between them grew stronger each day. Minyu could find her anywhere on the ship just by following the pull in his chest. When she was happy, he felt lighter. When she was stressed, he felt tension in his shoulders. Doctor continued her research. She worked with Healer and a team of scientists from both species. What they discovered both excited and worried them. "Human blood is unique," told Minyu during one of their meetings. "Earth has thousands of different diseases and pathogens. Over millions of years, human immune systems evolved to be incredibly adaptive. Your blood can recognize threats and respond to them faster than almost any other species we've studied. So that's why it worked with." "Partly, but there's more. When your blood entered her system, it didn't just adapt, it enhanced. It took the best parts of biology and made them stronger. Her crystalline blood structure is now reinforced with human proteins. The result is someone who heals faster, thinks clearer, and has abilities neither species possesses alone." "And the connection?" Shook her head. "That's the mystery. We think your blood and hers are still communicating somehow, sharing information, creating a bridge between your nervous systems. It's like you're two parts of one organism now." The implications were staggering. If human blood could do this for one person, what could it do for others? The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Ambassadors from 50 different species gathered to discuss the human question. Minyu and were required to attend. The council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in a circle around a central platform. Minyu stood there beside, feeling very small. Above them floated holographic displays showing both of their medical data. Ambassador Quell of the Empire spoke first. He was a large, reptilian being with scales that reflected light like oil. "This changes everything," he said, his voice booming. "If humans possess blood that can enhance other species, they must be regulated, controlled, perhaps even restricted from free travel." Murmurs of agreement rippled through some sections of the chamber. "Controlled," Captain stood up from the human delegation. "We're not a resource to be harvested." But you are valuable, Quell countered. Dangerously valuable. Species will go to war over this. High Sage of the Lumens raised her hand. She was made of pure light, her form constantly shifting. Perhaps this is a gift, she said gently. An opportunity for unity. Humans could help species facing genetic decline, plague, extinction. Or they could create an army of hybrids, another ambassador shouted. Super soldiers loyal to Earth. The debate raged for hours. Some saw opportunity, others saw threat. Minyu stood there, listening to strangers argue about his blood, his species, his future. He felt hands slip into his, squeezing gently. Stay strong, she whispered through their bond. Emperor Kairos finally stood. The chamber fell silent. His voice carried absolute authority. My daughter lives because of this human sacrifice, he said. She is stronger now than she ever was. That is a fact. But she is also still my daughter, still herself. The human blood did not erase her identity. It enhanced it. He turned to look at Minyu. We face a choice. We can respond with fear, building walls and restrictions, or we can respond with wisdom, creating frameworks for cooperation. I vote for wisdom. Not everyone agreed. As the session ended, Minyu noticed several ambassadors watching him with hostile eyes. The Purity Assembly, a conservative faction, issued a statement calling the hybridization an abomination against natural order. That night Minyu couldn't sleep. He stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars, found him there. You knew I was here, he said without turning around. Always, she stood beside him. Are you afraid? Yes. Me too. They stood in silence, two beings from different worlds, connected by blood and circumstance. Neither knew what the future held, but they knew they would face it together. The threat started small. Anonymous messages sent to the human delegation, graffiti on the flagship's walls calling contaminated. Then they escalated. Someone tampered with Minyu's food, trying to poison him. Security caught the culprit, an engineer who claimed he was protecting the bloodline. Commander, head of security, assigned guards to both Minyu and. They couldn't go anywhere without armed escorts. It felt like being in prison, even though everyone insisted it was for their protection. This is insane, Minyu said during a security briefing. We saved lives. Why are people treating us like criminals? Ambassador Earth's representative sighed. She was an older woman with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back tight. Fear makes people irrational. You represent change, Minyu. Big change. Some species have been the same for thousands of years. The idea that they could be altered frightens them. But we're not forcing anything on anyone. They don't know that. All they know is that human blood can change them. The possibilities terrify them. Doctor's research continued. She made discoveries that both amazed and troubled her. One afternoon, she called Minyu into her lab. I need to show you something, she said, pulling up data on a holographic display. We've been analyzing your bond. It's deeper than we thought. The display showed two brains, one human, one. They were connected by lines of light pulsing in sync. You're not just sensing emotions, explained. You're sharing neural pathways. When one of you learns something, the other can access that knowledge. When one feels pain, the other registers it. You're becoming synchronized. Stared at the display. How far will it go? We don't know. Theoretically, it could continue until you're almost one consciousness in two bodies, or it might stabilize at this level. We're in uncharted territory. Minyu felt a chill run down his spine. The idea of losing his individual identity scared him. He felt fear echo his own through the bond. That night, they talked about it in quarters. The room was decorated in style, with crystalline furniture and walls that glowed softly blue. Minyu sat on a chair that adjusted to his body shape automatically. I don't want to lose myself, admitted. I'm already different. My father looks at me like I'm a stranger sometimes. If I become more human, will I still be his daughter? You'll always be you, Minyu said firmly. Blood doesn't define identity, choices do, actions do. You really believe that? I have to, otherwise what am I? Just a medical technician whose blood happened to be useful. Minyu shook his head. No, I chose to help you. That choice matters more than biology. Smiled, it was a real smile, warm and genuine. You're wise for someone so young. I'm 28, that's not young. I'm 63. In years, you're practically a child. They both laughed. It felt good to laugh, to have a moment of normalcy in the chaos. But the moment didn't last. Healer burst into the room, breathing hard. Princess, we have a problem, a serious one. They followed him to the medical center. Inside, lying on a bed, was a young soldier. He was barely conscious, his skin pale and his breathing shallow. His name was, and he had been wounded in a training accident. He's dying, said bluntly. His blood type is rare like yours, Princess. We have no compatible donors. Looked at Minyu. Through their bond, he felt her realization and her fear. You want to try human blood again, Minyu said. It's the only option, replied, unless you object. Minyu rolled up his sleeve. Let's do it. The transfusion was faster this time. The doctors knew what to expect. Minyu's blood flowed into his body and the same purple glow began to appear, but something went wrong. Started convulsing. His body rejected the blood violently. Alarm screamed as his vitals crashed. Stop the transfusion, shouted. They disconnected Minyu and worked frantically to stabilize. It took 30 minutes, but they finally brought him back. He survived, but barely. And the human blood hadn't helped. It had almost killed him. Looked at Minyu with devastation in his eyes. It didn't work. I don't understand. Why did it work with the princess but not with him? Doctor arrived and began running tests immediately. Hours later, she had an answer. It's not universal, she explained to everyone gathered in the medical bay. Human blood doesn't work with every. It only worked with because of a very specific genetic marker she possesses. It's incredibly rare. Maybe 1 in a million have it. So we can't save everyone, said quietly. No, but we can save some. Pulled up more data. I've been analyzing genetic samples from other species. Some will be compatible with human blood, others won't. We need to test carefully before any transfusions. The news spread quickly. The hope that humans could save everyone faded. But a new possibility emerged. Selective compatibility meant humans could still help, just not universally. It made them valuable, but not all-powerful. The Galactic Council convened again. This time, the discussion was more practical. Ambassador proposed creating a framework for testing compatibility and facilitating voluntary transfusions under medical supervision. We call it the Harmonic Protocol, she said. Strict ethical guidelines, no forced transfusions, no exploitation, just cooperation between willing individuals. Many ambassadors supported the idea, but the Purity Assembly rejected it completely. Their leader, a militant called, issued a public statement. This protocol is the beginning of the end for species purity, he declared. First, they mix blood. Then they mix cultures. Soon, there will be no distinct species left, just mongrels with no heritage, no identity. We will not allow this. The message was clear. The Purity Assembly would fight the Harmonic Protocol with everything they had. Minyu felt the danger growing. The political situation was becoming volatile. At night, he dreamed of his sister. In the dreams, she was alive and healthy, smiling at him. You're doing good work, she said. Don't give up. He woke with tears on his face. Through the bond, he felt wake too, responding to his emotion. Are you okay? Her voice came through the communication device beside his bed. Just a dream, go back to sleep. I can't sleep when you're sad. That's how this works now, remember. Minyu smiled despite himself. Yeah, I remember. 1 week later, the Galactic Council was scheduled to vote on the Harmonic Protocol. The night before the vote, Minyu and attended a diplomatic dinner. It was meant to be a peaceful gathering, a chance for different species to socialize. But Minyu felt uneasy. Something was wrong. The sensation came through the bond, felt it too. "We should leave," she whispered to him. Before they could move, the lights went out. Screams filled the darkness. When emergency lights flickered on, Minyu saw them, assassins in black armor, weapons drawn, moving through the crowd toward. "Protect the princess," Commander shouted. Chaos erupted. Guards fought assassins. Diplomats ran for cover. Minyu grabbed his hand and pulled her toward an exit. They almost made it. An assassin appeared in front of them, raising a weapon. Minyu didn't think. He threw himself in front of just as the assassin fired. Pain exploded through his chest. He fell, the world spinning. Through fading vision, he saw his face above him, her expression twisted in horror and rage. Then everything went black. He woke to the sound of his voice. She was arguing with someone, her tone desperate. "I don't care about the risks. Give him my blood. He saved me. I will save him." "Princess, we don't know what will happen." "Do it now." Minyu felt the transfusion begin. His hybrid blood entered his veins. The sensation was strange, cold and hot at the same time, like ice and fire mixed together. The purple glow spread through his body. Through the bond, he felt its determination, her fear, her love. Yes, he realized. Love. Somewhere along the way, the gratitude and friendship had become something deeper. The wound in his chest began to heal, faster than it should, faster than human biology allowed. The hybrid blood was changing him, just as his blood had changed her. When he opened his eyes, was there, holding his hand. Tears streamed down her face. "Don't you ever do that again," she whispered fiercely. "No promises," Minyu said, his voice weak but steady. "That's what partners do, right? Save each other." Laughed through her tears. "Partners, yes, I suppose we are." Around them, guards secured the room. Doctor ran scans, her eyes wide with amazement, but Minyu barely noticed. He was alive, and whatever they were becoming together, they would face it as one. Minyu's recovery was faster than anyone expected. Within 2 days, he was walking. Within 4, the wound had vanished completely, leaving only a faint scar that glowed slightly purple in dim light. The hybrid blood had transformed him. Doctor documented every change with scientific fascination and personal concern. Minyu's strength had increased. His reflexes were sharper. His senses picked up details he never noticed before. The hum of electrical systems, the subtle temperature changes in a room, the emotional states of people around him. Most dramatic was his eyesight. When he concentrated, he could see the faint glow of living things, their bioelectrical fields. It was how perceived the world, and now he could too. "You're becoming a hybrid," told him during an examination. "Not as dramatically as changed, but definitely not fully human anymore." "How do you feel about that?" Minyu asked her. Paused, considering. "Scientifically, amazed, personally, worried. You're my friend, Minyu. I want you to be okay." "I am okay. Better than okay, actually. I feel more alive than I ever have." But the changes weren't just physical. The bond between him and had grown stronger after the second transfusion. They could share thoughts now, not just emotions. Sometimes Minyu would know what was thinking before she spoke. She experienced the same thing with him. "It's like having someone inside my head," said one evening. They sat in her quarters, which had become their shared space. "But it doesn't feel like an invasion. It feels natural." "I know it's strange, but I wouldn't change it." Minyu looked at her seriously. "We're in this together now, completely." Reached out and took his hand. The touch sent a warm pulse through the bond. Yes, together. The assassination attempt had shocked the Galactic Council. Security was increased dramatically, but more importantly, it revealed how far the Purity Assembly was willing to go. They had tried to kill a princess to stop the harmonic protocol. Emperor Kairos was furious. He addressed the council with barely contained rage. "They attacked my daughter during a diplomatic event," he said, his voice cold and sharp. "This cannot stand. The Purity Assembly must be held accountable." But proving who ordered the attack was difficult. The assassins had been killed or captured, but none would talk. The Assembly's leader, any involvement. He claimed the attackers were independent extremists. "We condemn violence," said smoothly during a public broadcast. "But we understand the fear that drives such actions. When you threaten the natural order of species, desperate people do desperate things." Minyu watched the broadcast with clenched fists. He's practically admitting it while denying it. "That's politics," Captain said bitterly. He had come to visit Minyu in the medical center. "Without proof, we can't touch him, and he knows it." Despite the violence, the vote on the harmonic protocol proceeded. The debate was fierce. Ambassador Quell and his supporters argued that the protocol didn't go far enough in regulating human blood. "We need tracking, registration, limits on who can donate and who can receive," Quell insisted. "You want to treat humans like livestock," Ambassador shot back. "Registration leads to exploitation. We've learned that lesson before on Earth." High Sage proposed a middle ground, voluntary participation with strong ethical oversight, but no mandatory registration. Medical professionals from multiple species would supervise all transfusions. Any violations would result in severe penalties. Emperor Kairos gave a speech that surprised everyone. He spoke not as an emperor, but as a father. "A month ago, my daughter was dying," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "A human I had never met from a species we barely knew gave his blood to save her. He didn't ask for payment. He didn't demand concessions. He simply helped because he could." Kairos looked around at the assembled ambassadors. "That is the spirit we should embrace. Not fear, not greed, not control, cooperation, trust. Voluntary exchange between beings who choose to help each other. If we can't manage that, we don't deserve to call ourselves civilized." The speech moved many. When the vote came, the harmonic protocol passed with a narrow majority. It wasn't a complete victory. Many restrictions and oversight measures were included, but it was a start. That night there was a celebration. Minyu and attended together, surrounded by guards but also by well-wishers. Ambassadors from species who had voted yes came to thank them. Some even asked if they might be compatible for transfusions themselves. "We'll test everyone who's interested," Minyu promised. "No guarantees, but we'll try to help." As the party continued, pulled Minyu aside to a quiet balcony. The stars spread out before them, thousands of worlds home to billions of beings. It was beautiful and overwhelming. "What do we do now?" asked softly. "We build something," Minyu said. "A place where people can come for testing, for transfusions, for research. We make this work. Together, always together." Leaned against him and they stood in comfortable silence. Through the bond, their thoughts mingled hopes, fears, dreams of what might be. The next morning, they announced their plan. They would establish the Harmonic Institute, a neutral facility dedicated to studying and facilitating compatible blood exchanges between species. It would be staffed by doctors and scientists from multiple worlds. All procedures would be voluntary, transparent, and ethical. Doctor agreed to serve as the chief researcher. Healer would lead the medical team. Captain volunteered to handle security. Ambassador promised Earth's full support. "You're building something that will outlive all of us," told Minyu during a planning meeting. "I hope you understand the weight of that." "I understand, but we have to try. My sister died because medicine couldn't save her. Maybe we can prevent other people from feeling that loss." The Harmonic Institute took 6 months to build. It was located on a neutral station between and human space. The facility was state-of-the-art, with medical equipment from a dozen different species and laboratories designed for cross-species research. During those months, Minyu and tested thousands of volunteers from various species. They found that humans were compatible with approximately 1 in every 5,000 individuals across multiple species, rare, but not impossibly so. Each successful match was celebrated. Each failure was studied to understand why. They saved lives. A Lumen child with a degenerative blood disease received a transfusion and recovered. An elderly whose species couldn't heal from radiation damage found new strength through human blood. A colony of miners trapped by equipment failure survived long enough for rescue because of emergency transfusions. Word spread. The Harmonic Institute became known as a place of hope. But the Purity Assembly didn't rest. Continued speaking out against the Institute, calling it a corruption center. His followers staged protests. Some turned violent. 3 staff members at the Institute were injured in one attack. Minyu refused to be intimidated. We're doing the right thing. We won't stop because of threats. One evening, as he worked late reviewing test results, he felt something through the bond, sharp, sudden fear from. He ran toward her office and burst through the door. She was fine standing by the window, but her face was pale. "I just received a message," she said quietly, showing him her communication device. He knows someone here, someone working for the Institute, someone who's going to sabotage our work from the inside." Minyu felt cold, a spy, a traitor among their own people. "We need to find them," he said. "But who can we trust? Anyone could be compromised." They stood together, the weight of paranoia settling over them. They had built something beautiful, but now it was threatened from within. The question was, how far would their enemy go to destroy it? The answer came 3 days later. Minyu was supervising a routine transfusion when the equipment malfunctioned. Alarms blared. The patient, a young volunteer, began convulsing. The blood flow reversed, threatening to kill both the patient and the donor. Doctor rushed in and manually shut down the system. The patient and donor survived, but barely. "This wasn't an accident," said after examining the equipment. "Someone the transfusion controls. If I hadn't been here." The saboteur had struck, and if they could compromise the medical equipment, they could do worse, much worse. Commander launched a full investigation. Everyone at the Institute was questioned. Security footage was reviewed, but the saboteur had been careful. They left no obvious traces. Minyu couldn't sleep that night. He felt hunted, vulnerable. Through the bond shared his anxiety. "We'll find them," she said in his mind. "We have to." But what haunted Minyu more was a darker thought. What if finding the saboteur wasn't enough? What if the Purity Assembly had dozens of agents ready to strike? What if this fight would never truly end? He looked at sleeping beside him, her bioluminescent markings pulsing gently. They had come so far together, changed so much. But the cost of progress was always opposition. "We keep fighting," he whispered to himself. "For everyone who needs help, for everyone who believes in what we're building, we don't give up." In the darkness, his hand found his and squeezed. Tomorrow they would face their enemies again, but tonight they had each other. And sometimes that was enough. The saboteur was someone they trusted. That was the worst part. His name was a young human engineer who had joined the Institute 3 months earlier. He seemed enthusiastic, dedicated, and helpful. But Commander's investigation revealed the truth. Had been recruited by the Purity Assembly before he ever applied to work at the Institute. They found him trying to plan a device that would contaminate the blood storage facility. If successful, it would have destroyed months of work and potentially killed dozens of patients. "Why?" Minyu asked during the interrogation. He felt betrayed and angry. "We're trying to help people." Looked at him with cold eyes. "You're destroying what makes us human. Every transfusion makes someone less of what they were and more of something else. You don't see it as destruction, but I do. We all do. So you'd rather let people die. I'd rather preserve what we are. There was no reasoning with him, was a true believer. He accepted his arrest without resistance and never showed regret. But his capture revealed something important. The Purity Assembly had more agents, mentioned at least 3 others working in various positions across the galaxy. The threat wasn't over. Emperor Kairos called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. This time, he demanded action. The Purity Assembly has moved from protests to terrorism, he stated. They have attempted murder, sabotage, and infiltration. This cannot continue. I call for a galaxy-wide investigation and prosecution of their leadership. Ambassador Quell, surprisingly, agreed. The Assembly has gone too far. Even those of us who were skeptical of the Harmonic Protocol can see that violence is unacceptable. The Council voted to authorize a joint task force to investigate the Purity Assembly. Tried to flee, but was captured on a remote station. Evidence found in his communications proved his direct involvement in ordering multiple attacks. His trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Minyu and both, describing the assassination attempt and the sabotage. The evidence was overwhelming. Was sentenced to life imprisonment on a maximum security station. With the Purity Assembly's leadership dismantled, the opposition to the Harmonic Institute weakened. But Minyu knew the ideas wouldn't disappear. Fear of change was deeply rooted. There would always be people who opposed what they were doing. We can't make everyone accept us, said during a quiet moment in their quarters. But we can prove that what we're doing works. She was right. Actions spoke louder than arguments. Over the next year, the Institute expanded. They trained more doctors. They tested more volunteers. They saved more lives. The success stories began to overshadow the controversies. A plague hit the colonies, killing thousands. Traditional medicine couldn't stop it, but human hybrids with enhanced immune systems survived and helped develop a cure. An entire species was saved because of the Harmonic Protocol. An explorer ship crashed on a toxic planet. The crew's biological filters failed, and they were poisoned by the atmosphere. Emergency transfusions from compatible humans gave them temporary resistance, allowing them to survive until rescue arrived. Each success built more trust. Species that had been skeptical began requesting testing. The Institute couldn't handle all the requests, so they trained other medical facilities across the galaxy to perform compatible transfusions following their protocols. Minyu and became the public faces of the movement. They spoke at conferences, gave interviews, and visited worlds to promote understanding. Some people loved them, others still feared them, but everyone knew their names. One evening, Minyu received a message from Earth. His mother wanted to talk. He hadn't spoken to her much since everything began. The conversation felt awkward at first. "I saw you on the news," she said. Her image appeared on the communication screen, older and tired but still his mom. "You've changed so much." "I'm still me, Mom." "I know, but you're also something more now, something I don't fully understand." She paused. "Your sister would be proud. You're doing what you always wanted, helping people the way you couldn't help her." Tears stung Minyu's eyes. "I miss her." "Me too, but she's with you in spirit, I believe that." After the call ended, Minyu sat in silence. Through the bond, felt his sadness and came to sit beside him. "Talking about your sister?" she asked gently. "Yeah, it's been 6 years since she died. Sometimes it feels like yesterday." "Her death gave you purpose. That doesn't make losing her hurt less, but it means something." Minyu nodded, understood him better than anyone. That was the gift of their bond, complete understanding, complete acceptance. The second anniversary of rescue approached. Emperor Kairos decided to hold a ceremony celebrating the Harmonic Institute and honoring those who made it possible. Dignitaries from across the galaxy were invited. The ceremony was held in the palace's grand hall. Thousands attended in person, and billions watched via broadcast. Emperor Kairos spoke first, recounting the story of his daughter's rescue. Then he introduced Minyu and they walked onto the stage together, hand in hand. The crowd erupted in applause. Minyu felt overwhelmed by the noise, the lights, the weight of expectation. But's presence through the bond steadied him. When the applause finally died down, Minyu spoke. 2 years ago, I made a choice. It wasn't complicated. Someone needed help and I could give it. I didn't think about politics or consequences or making history. I just acted. He paused, looking out at the thousands of faces. That's what the Harmonic Institute represents. Simple choices made by individuals to help each other. We're not trying to erase species or destroy cultures. We're just offering a chance for those who are compatible to help those who need it. Continued, her voice strong and clear. I was dying. Human blood saved me. But more than that, it showed me that the divisions we create between species are artificial. We are all connected by biology, by chemistry, by the fundamental forces that create life. Some of us happen to be compatible. Why should we waste that gift? She looked at Minyu, then back at the audience. My father feared that human blood would make me less. Instead, it made me more myself. I am stronger, wiser, and more capable than I ever was, but I am still his daughter. I am also something new, and that's beautiful. The applause was deafening, but there were also protesters outside the palace, holding signs and chanting slogans against the institute. Change was never universally accepted. After the ceremony, Minyu escaped to a quiet garden in the palace grounds. The stars above them sparkled like diamonds. Do you ever regret it? Minyu asked. Everything that happened. Thought for a moment. No, my life is more complicated now, more dangerous, but also more meaningful. I have you. I have purpose. I'm making a difference. How could I regret that? Even though people still hate us. Especially because people hate us. It means we're challenging them to think differently. That's uncomfortable but necessary. Minyu smiled. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. You just didn't notice because you were unconscious when we first met. They laughed together, the sound echoing in the garden. Through the bond, their emotions flowed freely. Love, contentment, hope. The next day, they received news that changed everything. Doctor had made a breakthrough. She discovered a way to predict compatibility without invasive testing. A simple scan could determine if someone's genetics would accept human blood. The process would take minutes instead of hours. This changes everything, said excitedly during her presentation. We can test millions of people quickly. We can build a database. We can match donors and recipients efficiently. The implications were enormous. The Harmonic Institute could expand operations 100-fold. They could help more people than they ever imagined. Minyu looked at. She was smiling, her bioluminescent markings glowing brightly with happiness. We did it, she said through their bond. We actually did it. 5 years later, the Harmonic Institute had facilities on 50 worlds. Over 10,000 people had received life-saving transfusions. The practice had become normalized, accepted by most of galactic society. The Purity Assembly still existed, but they were fringe now. Their membership had dwindled as success stories accumulated. It was hard to argue against something that saved lives so visibly. Minyu stepped back from day-to-day operations. They had trained successors who could run the institute without them. It was time for something new. They decided to start a family. Hybrid children were still rare and not well understood, but Doctor believed it was possible for them. Their blood was already mixed. Their genetics were compatible. Why not create life together? The pregnancy was difficult and required constant medical supervision. But 9 months later, gave birth to a daughter. They named her combining parts of Minyu's sister's name with honoring both the good and the bad that had shaped their journey. Was perfect. She had her mother's crystalline blue skin with patterns of human red woven through it. Her eyes were Minu's brown but with an inner glow. She was the first true hybrid child, neither human nor but both. Minu held his daughter and cried. He thought of his sister, of everything that had led to this moment. The pain, the fear, the choices, all of it had purpose. "She's going to change the world," said softly. "No," Minu replied, kissing his forehead. "She's going to inherit a world we changed. That's different, better." They stood together in the hospital room, a family forged from impossible circumstances. Outside, the galaxy continued turning. New challenges would come. New opposition would arise. But they had proven something important. Connection was stronger than division. Hope was stronger than fear. Love was stronger than hate. And sometimes, one simple act of kindness, giving blood to a dying stranger, could ripple outward and transform everything. As opened her eyes for the first time and looked at her parents, Minu understood the truth. He had given blood to save a princess, but she had given him something far more valuable in return. Purpose, partnership, love, and a future worth fighting for. The end of their story was really just the beginning.